We did finance the medical transport facility, Live Ambulance Services, Inc. in Portsmouth, Ohio. They provide both motorized ambulances and a very up-to-date air ambulance service, and we have provided financing for them several years ago. Value-added agricultural marketing grants are really helpful in the area that takes advantage of the local foods movement. I don't know if most of you know this, but the broccoli that many of you eat in a typical meal, although broccoli is probably not a good example, is it? But but anyway, it may well have been grown in Mexico, spent an 8-day trip across the U.S. through our rail system, set in a terminal in Cleveland or Columbus for 3 days, and then ends up on your plate at Hardee's or the Shake Store or whatever. What's wrong with that picture when people here in Ohio can be growing that broccoli for local consumption? There is a major movement underway now. You're starting to see it from multiple sources, including First Lady Michelle Obama, who has made a major impetus towards adoption of local food programs. How does this translate to activities that we take at USDA Rural Development, where we're looking to fund food warehouses, food aggregation and processing facilities in areas inside or close to large population centers, so that farmers don't just have to sell their foods that they produce to whoever will buy it as a commodity. It also gives them flexibility to get out of the corn, wheat, soybeans rotation that many crop farmers find themselves in, and gives them opportunity to sell fresh type crops and other food products which combined together with other available foods provide for a more healthy and nutritious diet. REAP is the Renewable Energy for America program, and it's one of the key programs that we administer at USDA Rural Development. We provide assistance for wind, solar, biomass, geothermal, and other energy efficiency improvements that businesses and small town residents desire to make. We have provided, as you can see there, insulation for greenhouses, which allows a greenhouse grower to grow and deliver to local food markets, including schools, hospitals, and institutions year-round. And that's always been the dream of food producers in a cold weather climate like Ohio. To the extent we can continue that, it's certainly our desire to do that. I don't have a slide on it, but there's also a great deal of activity going on in the area of aquaculture, meaning fish farming. And with the disaster in the Gulf now, there are opportunities for growth in that area. It's interesting, but if any of you speak Chinese, the word for crisis in Chinese translates to two words in English. One is danger, and the other is opportunity. And this is by way of saying that the disaster in the Gulf, dangerous as it is to the locals and to our very environment, may provide an opportunity for new industries like aquaculture and fish farming to flourish in areas that might not have otherwise seemed to be an appropriate venue for that. I do have something on this slide for the bean counters in the audience, And that is to say that one of the major thrusts of the stimulus bill, one that is not generally counted on in many people's ledger sheet, is the ERA investment tax credit for renewable energy projects. Projects in qualified renewable areas, wind, solar, biomass, if they are under construction by the end of this year, December 2010, they can they can qualify for a tax credit of up to 30% of the value of the project that's going into the ground. And that's a U.S. Treasury tax credit. But if you are willing, or if you're putting in a renewable project and do not have an appetite for tax credits, i.e. you're broke or you don't have a lot of income to protect, they will convert that to a Treasury grant, a 30% grant. Let's do some quick math on that. A $100,000 solar project, let's say. And assuming that you have the appropriate parties lined up to construct and or at least begin construction on a solar project this year, and you go through all the legal requirements to begin that construction, you could go to the U.S. Treasury at that point and get a grant for $30 million to take you a good deal of the way towards financing that $100 million solar type project. And that's just an example. We're seeing that in a lot of the wind farms too. They are literally getting checks of up to $100 million from the Treasury once they've gotten construction underway. This stimulates the invigoration of our economy in ways that aren't really apparent to anyone that's not following it very closely. This is perhaps the biggest and most, thus far, the most successful aspect of the stimulus program for renewable energies, the ERA Investment Tax Credit Grant. We have a number of biodigester projects underway and functioning in Ohio. And these are projects that we enjoy for a number of reasons, first of which is the handling of municipal waste and agricultural manures and runoff has always been a headache for municipalities, farms, and communities. And anaerobic digestion can assist in treating that product. And the other reason is that they can be used to generate electricity. The project that you see there is a $1.3 million biodigester project at the Ohio Agricultural Research and Development Center in Worcester, Ohio. And they are using animal waste, municipal waste, food, oils, and greases from local food processing plants and the McDonald's, and they're running just a whole witch's brew in that biodigester. You can't see it in this slide, but there's a big black rubberized bladder that lifts up the top of that as the gas really gets churning there. They put that facility in and predicted that they could use that they could generate up to 1/3 of the electricity necessary for the OARDC, the Ag Research School up there in Worcester. The project has been online now for about 6 weeks, and they are actually furnishing more like 1/2 of the energy required for that. Over 500 or around 500 kilowatts of electrical energy from cow manure. So we know we're onto something when we can turn that trash into treasure. Similar project, little bigger capacity, is going to be going online in Zanesville probably within the next 60 to 90 days.